Is there such a thing as a dream job?
For me, there's no such thing as a dream job.
There's no such thing,
A career itself is beyond just a role. It's also about the people you're working with, the company culture, and the team culture.
I heard somewhere, I don't know how true lah. They say like in big companies, right, the average time a recruiter looks at a CV, right, is like 7-8 seconds. Is there any truth to that, or it's not? It's bullshit.
I think 7 seconds is a bit too short, I feel.
There's always this phenomenon. They will mass apply for job. Then the first one that comes along, they will take.
I don't see why you want to spend additional time to apply for a role that you are completely not interested in and a company that you don't want to be in.
You'll be surprised, man.
I don't know.
A lot of people are like that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Youth Tea Party, the show where we spill the tea on all things youth. We are not a political party and have no interest in running for office. Today I'm very nervous and very excited. Why? Because this is literally the first time that we are having a non-youth guest. Technically she's still youth lah. You're still youth, right?
If you say your definition is below 35, I am.
Yeah, okay. So she's still youth. But I think more importantly, right, Vivien is here today, right, to answer a very, very important question. Question related to how do I get my dream job? How do I get employed? How do I, negotiate my salary? Blah, blah, blah. I think these are all questions that students, especially university students, today are very concerned about. So I'm really glad that you've made time for us, Vivien. Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully our viewers and followers will have value from this particular episode. But I want to get to know you a little bit better first. Yeah, can you share a piece of TMI with us?
Okay. I wanted to save this for my TMI, but you kind of spoil it. So yeah, I hit my big 3 this year. So 30 this year.
Okay.
Yes.
Still very young, what?
I mean, it's a transition from 20s to the 30s.
Really? What do you think is the, psychologically aside, what do you think is the biggest difference?
Physically more tired easily.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
really will.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference actually.
Until nowadays I climb stairs also I'm tired.
Yeah, I was panting a bit as I climbed to your office. I was trying to make sure I don't pant loudly.
This place really got a lot of stairs.
Yes.
Yeah. We're here today to talk about things like how to do your interview, how do you write a good CV. So you were a campus recruiter some time ago, and
yes.
I think it's good that you were. So now you can talk slightly more freely about your job last time. But can you explain in layperson terms, right? What is a campus recruiter?
Okay, so campus recruitment effectively is your first point of contact with all students in universities for internships and for full-time hiring. So what we do goes beyond just recruitment, right? We also devise a campus recruitment strategy, employer branding strategy to attract students from campuses. So our target audience are basically the students in unis and polytechnics, and then we just want to make sure that we can speak the same language as you guys.
I see. So you did business in NUS, right? All
yes,
those
correct.
years ago. How did you get into campus recruitment?
Okay, so in NUS business, I was actually a double major in finance and HR. M&O management organization, right? So I discovered my passion in HR after my first internship. So I think around year 2, I was wondering what I should do for my internship, and then I landed a role as a recruitment intern. And then back then, I was supporting the recruitment team on experience recruitment hiring. And that was when I realized, hey, this scope really speaks out to me. I think if you don't know already, I'm definitely an E person. Yeah, and this role gives me the kind of interactions that I need in a daily work. So I get to speak to a lot of people, not just external candidates, but also internal stakeholders.
I see. So you genuinely enjoy speaking to people lah?
In a way, yeah. I guess I enjoy knowing more people and understanding how I can better support them.
Okay, fair. So when you were a campus recruiter, like, what was a typical work day like?
Okay, so it really varies, but I think a typical work day may include things like screening calls with candidates, of course sieving and screening their CVs, and then understanding from candidates what roles are they more interested in, speaking to hiring managers to profile different candidates, planning employer branding events, campus events, and even assessment centers. So all of these also fall under a daily work.
I see. So for the companies you work for, right, the recruitment process generally is quite multi-tiered, is it? That means candidates have to go through multiple tiers, usually.
Not really, I would say, because I think right now quite a few companies have geared towards a mass assessment center. So, I mean, of course, we have like different multi-tiered assessment interview process. But if let's say we follow through the mass recruitment timeline, most of the time I do see quite a bit of assessment centers happening. And that's when actually all of them will come together. And usually after an assessment center, we don't necessarily have a follow-up interview.
I see. So assessment center is literally, if I'm a candidate, I will go down to the place, I will take an assessment, like an exam or something like that.
No.
Not really.
Not really. It depends on the company. But I think just to share, for example, a company that I was in before, how we used to do our assessment center is like a case challenge.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's important because we want to observe how candidates behave in a group setting that may or may not mimic a work setting. Correct? So they focus on a case, they work together on the solution. It's similar to what we do in school for project
so
work.
they work together with strangers lah. People just met. Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So then we get to see who actually shine and who actually are able to collaborate, mediate, and even lead the group.
I see.
Yeah, so through all of these behaviors that we observed, and then we are able to kind of spot candidates that we think might fit into the environment and culture of the company.
Wow. So what's the end product? End product is like a presentation.
Yes, correct.
So on the spot, they after like a number of hours, they have to present to you.
Not to me lah, to the panel.
Yeah, to the panel lah.
Yes.
Wow, so how many presentations does the panel go through on a typical?
I mean, usually it depends on how big the assessment center is.
Okay.
But usually, if we have about like 5 or 6 in a group, actually in a setting 10 groups, we can already interview about 60
That's a
candidates.
lot. Wow.
Correct.
Imagine having to sit through like 10 presentations.
Yeah, but it's a fast one. So I think like within an hour, give and take 10 presentations, 5 minutes each. I think it's okay lah.
I see. Okay. So we're talking about mass recruitment just now, right? Mass interviews. Is that now primarily the mode of hiring, or do they still do the more universal kind of sorting through CVs, that kind of stuff?
They do, I think. I think most of the companies still follow through the traditional method of sieving through CVs and going for multi-tiered interview, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, then in that process, right, how is it like for your role, right? How much influence do you have over which CV goes to your colleagues?
Okay, I think we are basically the gatekeeper, correct? So we will make sure that the CVs that get to our hiring managers are CVs that we have endorsed and we feel that is a match. Correct? So we are definitely the gatekeeper in that aspect.
Okay. But when you say endorse and there's a match, right? I mean, at the end of the day, CVs are just words lah, in a sense, right? So are there like certain keywords that they need to, in a way, indicate, or is it more of like each CV is like case by case basis? Because I heard somewhere, I don't know how true lah, they say like in big companies, right, like Google lah or whatever, the average time, right, a recruiter looks at a CV, right, is like 7-8 seconds. Is there any truth to that, or it's not? It's bullshit.
I think 7 seconds is a bit too short, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a very good question because we really receive a lot of CVs, correct? So the amount of time we spend on one CV, it won't be like 5-10 minutes, correct? So what we actually look at is how much content your CV can share and how descriptive it can be.
I
Correct.
see.
So we look at those aspects and we want to make sure that whatever that is on your CV is applicable to the role that you're applying for. I think one interesting fact about campus recruitment is that most of our candidates, almost all of them have the same starting ground.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Internship experiences, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So it's really on us to also pitch to our students which role we think would be more suitable for them based on their experiences and interests.
Also, normally you might do that also. You might reply them and say, oh, so sorry, this role not so suitable for you. Maybe you try out another role.
Okay, well, similar to that, but we'll probably be like, I've read through your CV. What are you interested in? Okay, if you're interested in this, actually maybe another role in the company might be more suitable for you. So this is what the role is about. Are you interested to try? And things like that.
I see.
So we do try to understand two ways. What are your interests, your aspirations?
Okay.
And from there, what roles in a company might be able to fit your aspirations? So we want to make sure that from our perspective, in a screening call, we have that aligned. That the role that you're applying for or the role that you may potentially be interviewed for is of your interest.
I see. Then when you say screening call, you mean you literally like Zoom them? Is it?
A phone call or Zoom.
Or phone call.
Yeah,
Okay.
Either works actually.
I want to ask you some questions, right, that I've collated actually in my time talking to university students, right? So these are some of the burning questions that they have with regards to like CV lah, interview lah, and job related stuff lah. Okay, so I mean, again, there is probably no right or wrong answer, but maybe just your opinion. So in terms of the CV, right, just now we were talking about CV, but one of the things that I'm really interested in, right, is that should a CV be of a certain length?
Okay. Because I came from NUS business, right? And we were educated that the ideal length is 1 page.
Okay.
Correct? So to be honest, I'm stuck with that 1 pager until like my second job. Where I'm like, okay, 1 page is no longer enough to fill up, to fill my experiences up, right? That's why I expanded to the 2nd page.
Okay.
But in essence, I think length is just one of the factors. I think there's no point in having a very long CV if there's no substance.
Yeah, that's true.
Correct. So what is important is to make sure that whatever you are doing is encapsulated properly inside the CV, and it is descriptive in a way where we have like statistics. Correct. We know exactly who you are working with. I think those are the more important aspect that we will look at metrics, statistics. What is your daily work on top of just length?
I want to pick up on metrics and statistics. I think it's very, very, very interesting because I always tell people that in your CV, right, you need to show cause and effect. So I think a lot of people write I did this. But I always say that, or maybe you should try saying that I did this and it led to this, right? And then also try to substantiate with like matrices like numbers or like some kind of qualitative outcome
Yes.
Is that something that y'all would look for?
Of course.
Yeah.
Those will actually help to substantiate the skill of your work. Correct. For example, just taking campus recruitment as an example, right? I could be putting in my CV like, I'm an intern recruiter for ABC portfolio, correct? But then what does that mean? That means nothing much, correct?
Correct.
But how if I change it up to be like, okay, I recruited over 100 full-time employment hires for technology, for digital, then it changes things up, correct? So I think in essence, the work is the same, but what I added in is the skill of the work I'm working on, which is a high volume hiring.
Yeah, that makes sense. So with regards to CV again, right? Some people, they like to add a bit of bells and whistles sometimes, for example, they zeng their CV, make very nice, right? They use Canva or they use Photoshop to make it very nice. And then some people, right, they even include a QR code that leads to a very short, maybe 30-second or 1 minute video, right? That explains maybe the person's value and this and that. So if the person does something like that, right, and it's very well tailored and contextualized to the role, right? Is that something they will look favorably on? Will you even scan the QR code, or will you think like extra this person? What's about that? I'm quite curious about that actually.
Okay. Personally,
personally,
it would be difficult for me to actually want to scan the QR code unless the role that I'm recruiting for is like a creative role. Correct? Then there's a motive for me to want to scan the QR code. And I think if let's say the CV already cannot make it, right, in terms of like the skill set fit, it's not there, experiences wise it doesn't align, then I don't think I would scan a QR code. But it's interesting because I haven't seen the CV with a QR code that leads me to an introduction video.
Have nowadays I see more and more.
Have
some really quite well done, it's just a very short, like 20-second video, right?
Yeah.
Introducing the person's values and like the relationship to the job that this person's applying for.
I think it's a bonus for sure. But then you must be confident enough that your CV itself is aligned to what you're applying for. Then the recruiter have a motive or this motivation to try to scan your QR code and understand you further. Correct. And this will help because if like, let's say I'm going to call you for a screening call, then I will scan a QR code to understand you better. So I can skip all of that in the screening call also.
That's true actually. Yeah, makes sense. So in a way it's a bonus your CV still has to be good
Correct. It's a value add for sure I need to make sure that your CV meets the bar.
Sure. Fair. Okay. In university, right, when students are graduating, right, they always have there's always this phenomenon They will mass apply for jobs. Then they kanchiong, right? Because they're like, my friend got a job, I don't have a job yet. Then they kanchiong, right? Then they apply for jobs, right? Then the first one that comes along, they will take. Then they take already, right? Then another one that they will like more, right? They will be offered. It's always like that one. Then they always dilemma, right? Like sometimes even once they already sign with the first job, right? Then now their so-called dream job or maybe a job they really like comes like maybe 2 weeks later. Then they dilemma. Some of them even break the contract with the first job. It's very, very bad practice What do you think about that? How will you advise people who are going through that kind of phase? Will you advise them to like really just wait and see until they find a job that they really like, or will you say that never mind just go and try other things first or what do you think?
Okay, my take is, to be honest, I feel it's okay to mass apply to jobs only if you are interested in either number one, the company or the role itself. Correct? If not, then there's no I don't see why you want to spend additional time to apply for a role that you are completely not interested in and a company that you don't want to be in.
You'd be surprised, man.
I don't know.
So, a lot of people are like that.
I really don't know. I mean, when I was looking for a job, I do apply to quite a number of companies, but with the condition that I'm interested in either the company or the role, right? And also, I think a good practice is, okay, for a lot of these interviews that you go to, it helps to build up your portfolio and experience, correct? So I wouldn't say that it's a completely useless thing.
Sure.
Eventually, you're still building your interview experience up to set you up for a better stage. When you reach your dream job interview, then that's where you can actually perform better. But what's important is the stage where you want to accept the offer or when you're offered.
Yep.
Is this company what you're interested in? Are there other companies in the pipeline? Can you extend the deadline? What kind of information can you get from the recruiter more to make an informed decision? So I guess it's not about the interview process for me or the application process, but the offer acceptance part that you need to be more mindful of.
I see. So how do you all react to when you offer someone a job officially, right? And then they reject you. So they haven't signed yet, but they reject you politely or whatever. Do you find that that's just part of the job? Or do you feel like, I'll waste my time, that kind of thing?
No, I think on our side, we want to, okay, so if let's say we personally feel that the candidate is really of very good quality or caliber, then we want to understand further. Why do you want to reject our offer? Correct? Do you want to reject our offer because, why is it that of our offer that you don't like? Correct? So you need to understand that further.
I see.
And if it's something that we can address, we will try to address. We will even be able to get like the reporting manager, the team lead or whoever to speak to the person more, right? To share about the culture, the team's work, to see whether this person is able to change their mind or not. But effectively, if let's say if we try everything and the person is still like, hey, I'm not keen in this role, then of course we will just have to be wish him well lah. Yeah, eventually it's to the person's interest lah. Even if we forcefully get the person to accept, he might not stay long. Then there's no point also.
You mean you can forcefully get the person to accept?
Cannot lah. Just sharing a hypothetical scenario.
Okay, yeah. Then right, there's another scenario whereby people always choose between passion and remuneration. So they say they have a choice of two jobs, right? One they are more passionate about, but the pay is really pretty bad lah.
Okay.
Then the other one, right, they don't have that much passion, but the pay is really pretty solid.
Okay.
How would you advise them in this scenario?
I think this really depends on the individual's priorities.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe the stage of their life at where they are at right now. Like for example, as a fresh grad, if I'm starting out and I don't have any debt or whatever, right, and I'm not in a phase where I need to pay mortgage and things like that, then remuneration might take a lower priority as compared to passion or interest. Correct? So in that case, I would probably suggest the person to evaluate everything as a whole. Think about where you want to be maybe 3 to 5 years down the road. Correct? What kind of path would you want to go down and which role will help you get to that path faster? Correct? And then based on that, make a decision. But of course, if let's say you're at a phase where, I have a wedding coming up, I want to buy a house, I have so many things I want to do, then maybe remuneration will take a way heavier priority. And then in that case, I think it's quite straightforward lah.
No, I agree lah. But that's the thing, right? To me, it's like a mindset thing. So I always tell students that also. I always say that genuinely, if you are not financially burdened, right, you should really go for passion. The problem is that it's very hard for them to get their mindset right. They always tell me, because my friends get a higher paying job, I cannot loogie. They always have this kind of mindset, right? Which is very sad lah. I think this kind of thing, it really takes a while to change, right?
That I think which is also why depends on what you prioritize. For me, for example, right, I decided to pursue a career in HR. Even though HR, I think, is a common perception that HR usually probably will earn less than how much you would have earned in finance, for example. But I think to me it's really about where are your strengths and where can you shine more. I think that's what's important.
In another world, I would have gone for HR also. I really enjoy HR. I particularly enjoy organizational culture stuff. Very, very interesting. But in another world.
In another world, you still have a chance.
Yes, I do. I want to ask you, is there such a thing as a dream job?
I guess some people may have may feel like some companies like a dream company for them. I personally, after 7 years of working, have decided that for me, there's no such thing as a dream job.
There's no such thing,
Yeah. Okay. To be honest, I think as a fresh grad level, right, there could be a lot of things that I'm hearing from people. A dream job could be anything, right? From like a role that you're interested in, company with good pay, etc., etc. But I've come to realize that a career itself is beyond just a role. It's also about the people you're working with, the company culture, and the team culture. So in fact, I can be in a role where, the scope might not be something that I like, but if the people I'm working with are people that I enjoy working with, right, then the role is a dream job for me already.
It's true. Actually, sometimes, even though there's a dream job up there, you might not make it also. Yeah, it's true, right?
I know I might not make it.
As in, some people, their dream job is not particularly commensurate with what they're good at. It's like, you like go and work in like gaming or some people go work gaming that kind, but maybe their experience is just not geared towards functions in that industry.
Yeah, it might be a motivation for them to work harder or to pivot their career.
That's true. Yeah. So you think that the internal culture is really quite important.
It is important.
Yeah. Actually it is, right? Because you see your colleagues every day.
Exactly. I see my colleagues more than I see my family members.
Yeah,
and even my husband, that I live with. So this is how important your colleagues are.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. That means you see your students more, you see your wife more.
Of course, my wife lah. Of course, my wife. No, but anyway, I think it's a really good piece of advice because I think especially for fresh grads, right? That is something that they don't see. Because they haven't had a chance to really work with people yet.
Correct.
So then when they make decisions, right, they won't see company culture at all. And I guess also sometimes it's very, very hard to see company culture if you've not been in there yet. And also I would say that the same company culture could be different to two people. Right?
I agree.
Yeah. So like for example, you're very extroverted, right? Then if I'm very introverted, right? If the company culture too extroverted, I also very sian. Yeah, okay. But I think that's a really good piece of advice. So thanks for that. What do you think is the greatest mistake, right, that people make when they come for an interview?
Number one, definitely not enough research about the company. Then number two, not enough knowledge about the role they're applying for. Like if you don't know what you're applying for, then you're not able to sell yourself properly.
Two people apply for the same job, right? The first person results not say very good, average, but got like 2-3 internships. Second person is a stellar academic student, but for some reason, no internship experience. Will you all even consider this person with stellar grades?
I will look at it and be like, oh, this person is academically very strong.
Yeah.
Correct. Then what has this person been doing in his free time?
Studying.
So
what would be the number one piece of advice you would give to youth today who are transitioning into the workforce?